Hi everyone, Scott Weaver with Designer's Workroom. So today we are making a faux Roman shade. Faux Roman shade is meaning it is fake. It's completely fake. It has no clutch in it, has no strings in it. It just makes it appear like it is a Roman shade like so. And why would you want a Roman shade that doesn't work? Well, a lot of times people take a shade like this, a cordless cell shade or another cell shade, and they put it behind inside the window frame. And if you have room, you can put both this and a full Roman shade inside the window frame. But this one's going to be mounted outside, and the full Roman shade, the regular shade is going inside the window frame. So we're going to show you exactly how to make that. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, now I've already cut my material to make my Roman shade, my full Roman shade. And in most cases, this is what you're going to do. In the length, my length that I'm making today is 15 inches deep. You multiply that by 2 and you add 6 inches. So 15 times 2 is 30 inches plus an extra 6 inches. So this material is cut 36 inches long. So 2 times your length plus 6 inches. If this was going to be 20 inches, you need 20 times 2 is 40, plus an additional 6 inches, which make it 46 inches, and so on. In the width of my shade, or my faux Roman shade, is 41 3/4. I'm putting a double 1-inch side hem on both sides of it, of course. That would be another 4 inches. So I've cut this material 45 3/4 inches wide. As far as my lining, which I do line them, I am using a thermal lining. It's a thermal foam lining. It's a little stiffer. I like the stiffness of it. However, you do not have to use this. You can use whatever lining that you feel, but I do recommend lining it is a better job. In this case, in the length, it's 2 times the length of your shade. Again, it's 2 times, so it would be 15 times 2 is 30, but we're only adding 2 extra inches to it. So my length is 32 inches on my lining. And in the width, I am cutting the width of the lining exactly the width of my shade. So the 41 3/4 inch wide shade, that is what I have cut it at. Then we need what is called shade returns. There's these little side pieces to cover your board, and you only need those if there's going outside mount. And this way you don't see the side view of the board. And they look like this. And these I will explain later, but you want to cut them 9 inches long by 8 inches wide. And I will explain those at a time, but of course you need 2 of them for the left and the right side of the shade. Along with that, you need a couple of extra things here. You will need a bottom bar right here. I like to put a nice bottom bar on it. Now this, you can find this at Lowe's, any Lowe's store. This is what they actually make screens out of. This is where the channel would be, and you'll find them in with your screens. It's probably going to be the best thing for you to use. They're fairly cheap. They come very wide lengths. I think they're like 6 feet wide, maybe 7 feet in length, I should say. And you just cut these with a standard hacksaw. Inexpensive, lightweight, but will stiffen that bottom up. So that's what we're using in this case. You're also going to need a board to board mount it on, because these are board mounted. And this is a 2.5 inch pine board, standard pine board. This is also cut the width of the shade, the exact width of your shade. In addition to that, you are going to need rings. These are Roman shade rings, these white little rings right here. And we also use split rings. These split rings are what we use on the back of them, and they clip onto these rings so you can bring them up and clip them. And they are an open end ring like so, and you put this in like that, and that's what that looks like. And then the next thing you're going to need is some crochet, because I don't hand sew these rings on. I actually use a matching crochet. It matches and it blends right in very nicely. It comes in several different colors. And in this case, I am using a number 10 crochet thread. Number 10 crochet thread. You can pick this up at a Walmart, a Kmart, Joann's Fabrics, wherever you like to do it. The needle that I'm using is actually an upholstery needle. Just has to, any needle that can accommodate the thickness of a number 10 crochet hook is great. Now, I'm going to talk about the rings. I bet all my parts and everything by bulk, but I've checked eBay for you, and if you punch in on eBay, let me just punch that in here. All I did is I punched in the search shade rings, and it came right up to here. There's 100 Roman shades sew on rings, white plastic, which is exactly what we're using. And you get 100 of them for $9.99. It's not too bad. And then if you keep going, you will find the where did I see them here? They're here someplace. I know I saw them. And I know they have the split rings here. It's on the same page. Trying to find out where exactly I saw them. Of course, I'm looking at this upside down. Well, I know I saw them. I think it was on the same page here. Hold on. Stick with me here. There they are right there. Hopefully you can see that. But they're $6.97, and you get 25 of them, it looks like, for $6.97. And you won't be using any more than like 4 or 5 of them for this project per shade, depending on the width of your shade. Anyhow, you can find them right on eBay, so that's a good thing. So now, let's begin on lining the fabric. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my shade over on the face side onto my table, so I'm looking at the back of it. And I've also changed the direction of where my shade's going. The top of my shade is going that way. And then I'm going to put my lining on top here. And the lining goes right to the top of the shade, and it's going to be centered right on the shade. And if you recall, the lining is the exact width of the shade, but the material was cut 4 inches wider. So we know if we were to come over here and make sure that we are 2 inches, we're going to have that exactly there. And this is going to be all the way up to the top, which that's going to give us automatically our 4 inches for our bottom. This is why we cut things the way we're cutting them. Then our next step is to give it plenty of pins to hold it in place. I'm not going to put it too close to the bottom because I have to make my bottom hem at some point. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to put some pins in here to hold it all in place. This is actually quite an easy project. Actually, I can move this one over. It's a little bit too close to my side hem. And you're just going to put enough to hold that lining in pretty good, because we still have to sew it and all that good stuff. Okay, now the easiest way to put our side hems in is I'm going to take my pressing board. And I'm going to bring it over here. Make sure my iron is nice and... Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can see that a little bit better. Okay, there we go. Make sure it's nice and warm. Now what I'm going to do Sorry, I'm just adjusting the camera so you can see it. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this hem and I'm going to meet the lining, just like that. I'm going to press it. This is going to be the easiest way to get your hem in. Now I'm dealing with a linen. We're pretty close to a gosh darn linen fabric. So it doesn't fold very well. So by doing this, just makes it just a little easier. Okay, so now I have that even with my lining, like that. Now I can go ahead and turn it again, making sure, excuse me, you're not folding your lining into it, because then that would change your hem, change the width of your shade. So you just want to make sure you're going right along the side of it. Then once you have that done, we're going to stick the pins, some pins in it to hold it. Now I'm using a blind stitch machine, but you can go ahead and use a straight stitch machine or whatever you would like to do. So yes, we put the side in before we put the bottom in, because the bottom has to support the bar, and so we have to have a little pocket for the bar to go into. So that's that, and then we're going to flip it around, and we're going to do the same thing on this side as we did. I'm going to go ahead and meet the lining. When you're done, you can check the width of your shade if you like, but if you cut your lining the exact width of your shade, and this is just meeting it, you should be pretty gosh darn close to what you need to be. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish this up so I'm not boring. I'm going to put some pins in, then I'm going to blind stitch it, and then we're going to go ahead and put the bottom hem in. Okay, so I've got my side hems all in now. It's going to the bottom hem. Bottom's a double 2-inch bottom, and the lining stops 4 inches shy of the fabric. And we're going to do the exact same thing we had done with the side hem. We're going to take the fabric, we're going to fold it over so it meets the lining like that. And if you need to, you can go ahead and press this in. Right where it meets the lining. So that's your first fold over. So once you have it meeting the lining like that, you're going to flip it over the second time, making sure you're not grabbing any of the lining in, just like we did the last time. Keep it consistent. Getting ahead of myself here. And then once you have that all folded in, pin it in place. Okay, now we go ahead and pin it. And give that a sew down. For us, it's a bind stitch. You can bind stitch it or you can straight stitch it, whatever you have available. The other thing we have to talk about, now we have this pinned in, are the little shade ears on here. I've already have this one sewn. Let me just expand this a little bit. Here we go. Okay. So here's here's what we discussed about the shade returns. We sometimes refer them to as ears, shade ears. And so what you're going to do is fold it like in half like this. That's the long way. This measures 8 inches by 9 inches. The 9 is the length. So you want to fold it in half like this. Once you have it sewn, once you fold it like this, you're going to sew down on this side and then sew on this side. So it's going to end up like this. And then one of the things that we do here is I just take my scissors and I just clip the corner and get some of the corner out of it just like that on an angle on both sides from where the stitching is. You probably can't see the stitching, but I do that because it makes it easier when you turn it. So the next step would be to turn this over, and these are what attaches to the ends of your boards. And once you get it out, you want to make sure you get all the fabric out. You can always grab a little pin and just pull out from the corners. And you also want to press this in 2 different ways. Get that out of the way so you can see it. You want to press here. Press the other side. Make sure I have all the fabric out here. Now keep in mind, if you have a fabric that is directional like this one, making sure that which part is the up. So this is the up part of it, and you have to make lefts and rights. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half like this. My board is 2.5 inches, so I'm going to bend it in 2.5 inches like that, and I'm going to give this a press. This gives you a nice crisp return. So what happens is when you put it on the board, let me get the board here. This will get stapled to your board. So what'll happen is this part goes around here and you'll have a nice crisp edge on there like that. So you want to make sure you're making lefts and rights when you are sewing those, well, more for when you're pressing them. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put the bottom hem in that. We're going to finish up on sewing this one, and then we're going to start the marking. Okay, well, we're done with this portion of the shade. It's all sewn. I checked the measurement. The measurement's fine. It looks very, very good. And the next step is we are going to mark off the shade for the rings. And I'm just going to point something out when we mark it off. If you look at this one right here, you can see where it's spaced out. And the reason why it's spaced out is because our first set of rings and maybe like 6.5 inches, and then it goes like 5 inches. So we step the rings. So that's what creates that waterfall effect on them. So we'll go over that shortly with that part of it. And also, we don't actually sew on our rings. We tie them on. It is so much faster to tie each one of them on instead of actually sitting there sewing. And that is the reason why we're using the crochet thread opposed to standard thread. And I've also went ahead and I finished off my, some people call them returns, sometimes we call them shade ears. It goes on the edge of the board to cover them. And you can see this one is for that one side here. This is for the other side. So I have mirror images of how I press them. So it has a nice crisp look as you look at this one right up here. Let me show you what this whole thing looks like. And clamp it so you get a better idea of what it looks like here. And there's the side view of it. You come around and this is what the back of it looks like. If you can see that, let me and that's what the back of it looks like. So there's kind of a whole view. So in our next series, in our next part 2 I should say, because this is part 1, we're going to cover the rest of this. But for now, I have to sign off because it's about 9 o'clock at night and I think I'm done working for tonight. But stay tuned for the second half of this and we'll finish it up and hopefully you'll be able to make your own shades. Thanks for watching. Scott Weaver with Designer's Workroom. I hope you enjoyed the content of my videos and I'm hoping that you're going to like and subscribe to my channel. It would be muchly appreciated. Also, I put a lot of time and effort into putting this together, and I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't mind donating a small portion of money to keep this channel going. It's of course not necessary, but it's always appreciative. And also with that, if you have any questions regarding maybe some drapery stack back or swags, whatever your question is, I would be happy to help you out with that. And to do that, all you need to do is just search for Scott Weaver or Scott Weaver videos and you can click on it and there's the subscribe button, of course, and then you click onto my face here and over here you'll see a donate to PayPal. You hit that and it'll bring you to the link and it is safe and secure. There it is right there. You can donate with either a credit card, any credit card or debit card, or by PayPal. Of course, this is not necessary, and I'm going to keep giving you the best videos that I possibly can with the limited resources I have. But anyhow, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.